Okay, let's unpack this. Think about the last time you ordered something online.
Right.
That package arriving on your doorstep exactly when you expected it. Or maybe, let's be honest, sometimes when you didn't quite expect it.
Yeah, it happens.
Behind that seemingly simple click and delivery is this incredibly complex, hidden world. Warehouses, transport networks, just immense coordination.
It really is. Getting everything you need precisely where and when you need it is one of the biggest challenges for businesses today.
And it feels like it's getting tougher, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You've got persistent labor shortages. Costs are rising for pretty much everything, fuel, people, and just the sheer complexity of handling, massive volumes, different types of products. The pressure is huge.
Huge. And well, this is where technology comes in. Not just helping, but really aiming to revolutionize the whole space.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're zooming in on one company doing just that, Ground Inc. And we'll look closely at their CEO, Haratomo Miyata.
Right. We've gathered info from company profiles, their website, some recent news, trying to piece together their vision and how they're tackling these big challenges.
Our mission here is really to get a handle on Ground's vision. They talk about a permanently sustainable logistics future, which is quite a statement.
It is. We want to understand their core tech approach, this shift towards software and optimization, and crucially, see how Mr. Miyata's own background, which is pretty varied, has shaped where the company's going.
Yeah, the goal is to give you a clearer picture of how things like AI, robotics, mathematical optimization, how they're not just buzzwords anymore. They're actual tools changing warehouses as we speak.
So let's start with the leader, Haratomo Miyata. His path isn't your typical tech CEO story, especially in logistics, and I think that's really key to understanding Ground.
It really is. The sources show his career starting back in '96. And interestingly, in banking, Family Bank, which is now part of Mitsubishi UFJ.
The finance background first, but then he pivots.
Big pivot. In 2000, he jumps into consulting with Deloitte Tomatsu. And that's where he really starts focusing on logistics and supply chain reform, working with major retailers, seeing it from that strategic angle.
But he didn't just stay there advising from afar.
No, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. In 2004, he joins Osco, the big Japanese e-commerce player. Not as a consultant, but as logistics department manager.
Wow, okay. So actually running their domestic distribution centers.
Exactly. Getting that direct, hands-on, what the sources call site-rooted perspective. He was right there, dealing with the day-to-day chaos and challenges on the warehouse floor.
That's invaluable, isn't it? Understanding the bottlenecks, the human side of things, the real operational grit.
Totally. And then, 2007, he moves over to Rakuten Group, takes on bigger and bigger roles, head of logistics prep office, then head of the whole logistics business.
And he wasn't just managing, he was building.
Right. In 2010, he founded Rakuten Logistics and became its president, basically spinning up their internal logistics capability from scratch.
So he's seen it from finance, strategy, operations, and building a logistics function. Quite the journey.
And it didn't stop there. He became a Rakuten executive officer, even managed their French logistics entity, Alpha Direct Service. So international expansion, too, dealing with scaling in Europe, supporting U.S. launches.
Okay, so finance, strategy, hands-on ops, building a business, international scaling. He's seen logistics from almost every possible angle.
That blend feels, well, really powerful. It suggests he gets not just the tech potential, but how it has to actually work within financial constraints, strategic goals, and the messy reality of a warehouse floor.
Right. When you're developing AI, robotics, complex optimization, having walked that floor yourself, having built systems, it gives you a different filter, doesn't it? The tech has to deliver real, tangible results.
Which brings us neatly to Ground Inc., founded April 10th, 2015. With that ambitious vision we mentioned, a permanently sustainable logistics future for everyone.
It's a big goal, and it directly targets those core issues: labor shortages, rising costs, operational complexity.
Yeah, they position themselves as a digital solution provider, betting heavily that technology, specifically software, is the key lever to pull for building that sustainable future.
And they're coming up on their 10th anniversary next April 2025. The sources mention their size, around 40 employees, 3 officers. Seems like a lean, focused team.
Definitely. And central to their whole strategy is their core product, GWES. That's the Ground Warehouse Execution System.
GWES. Okay, let's define that a bit. The sources mention warehouse execution systems, WES, generally fall into 2 camps.
That's right. You've got control-based WES, which is more about, directly managing the physical automation conveyors, robots, sorters, telling the hardware what to do.
Okay.
Then you have information-based WES, and that's where GWES fits. It connects to other systems like a WMS, a warehouse management system, or even those control-based WES, but its job is higher level. Visibility, analysis, decision support, optimizing the whole flow.
Ah, okay. So it's less about controlling one robot arm and more about orchestrating the entire operation, seeing the big picture.
Exactly. And because it's information-based, it's really valuable for companies with multiple warehouses. You get centralized visibility, you can optimize across the whole network, not just one building.
So key capabilities are things like real-time visibility, seeing what's happening right now.
Yeah, real-time visualization. Plus, using AI for prediction and optimization. Things like forecasting workload really accurately or figuring out the best way to use your resources, people, and machines on the fly.
The sources brought up this idea of the software economy, how logistics is shifting, like other industries, from being hardware-led to software-led.
It's a really important point. Historically, logistics advantage was often seen as having the biggest warehouse, the fastest conveyor. Now, the argument is that competitive edge comes from the intelligence layer. The software, like GWES, that analyzes, predicts, optimizes, that's what drives efficiency and flexibility.
Makes sense. The physical stuff is still crucial, but the brain coordinating it all is becoming paramount.
Precisely. And GWES is built for that. It's
Yes.
modular. Companies can pick the functions they need now, add more later. It's cloud-based, so it's scalable. And it's designed to integrate smoothly with existing systems like WMS and TMS, transportation management systems.
And the impact, what are they aiming for?
Better accuracy, better efficiency, obviously, but also enabling planning based on data and AI, not just gut feeling or old habits, supporting that kind of holistic optimization, whether it's one site or across many.
Okay, let's dive into some of those GWS modules. Get a bit more specific. Maybe start with workload forecasting, WF.
Sure, WF is crucial. It uses historical data, event data, all sorts, to predict future workload.
Which you need for planning, right?
Yeah.
Staffing, scheduling.
Absolutely vital. Getting that right avoids having too many people standing around, or worse, being totally overwhelmed. And it's not just a simple forecast. It apparently has features to automatically tweak its own parameters, learn over time.
Interesting. What else stands out?
Well, you've got modules for seeing what's happening right now and understanding performance, like the Progress Analyzer, PA, for visualizing workflow in real time, spotting anomalies, and the Workload Analyzer, WA, for digging into why things are happening, productivity issues, bottlenecks.
So visibility and diagnosis.
Right. Then you get into the really powerful optimization stuff, like the Slotting Optimizer, SO. That's about where you put products in the warehouse.
Which sounds simple, but I guess it makes a huge difference.
Massive difference. So, figures out the best spot for inventory based on things like how often it ships, where it needs to go next, trying to minimize travel distance for picking. It works closely with the Inventory Analyzer, IA, which shows you stock levels and locations.
Okay, so smart placement, and then there's routing.
Yep, the Routing Optimizer, RO. If SO decides where things go, RO figures out the best path for workers or robots to take when they're picking orders, minimizing travel, maximizing efficiency. It can even optimize batching orders together.
Makes sense. Placement and path planning working together.
Exactly. And they take that optimization outside the warehouse walls, too, with the Delivery Optimizer, DO.
Ah, for the actual transport.
Right. It optimizes delivery plans, minimizing cost, minimizing lead time by considering all the different transport options. Express, LTL, that's less than truckload.
Right, for shipments not big enough for a full truck, but too big for parcel.
Exactly. Chartered trucks, the company's own fleet. DO weighs all those options.
And that's where that NTT Logisco example came from, the 25% cost reduction.
That's the one. A pilot using DO showed a significant drop in transport costs. That's a tangible result.
Definite. Now, there was a newer module mentioned, RA.
Ah, yes, Resource Allocator. This one got highlighted in some recent news, June 3rd, I think, and it tackles that huge issue, labor allocation.
How so?
It uses mathematical optimization, forecasting, all the smarts to automatically figure out the best way to assign personnel in real time. Yeah, it looks at the predicted workload, how things are actually progressing, worker skills, shifts, and then calculates the optimal arrangement of people, even giving specific instructions to managers.
So it's automating those really complex staffing calls that managers usually make based on, intuition and experience, especially when things get crazy busy.
Pretty much. Taking the guesswork out, grounding it in data. The sources said there's really strong interest in RA, which isn't surprising given the labor situation.
No kidding. Okay, so that's the software intelligence. But Ground also brings in robots, right?
They do. It's not just about the software brain. It's also about physical automation, providing labor savings and handling tasks with robotics.
What kind of robots are we talking about here?
The sources mention AMRs, autonomous mobile robots. These are the ones that navigate intelligently, no fixed tracks needed. They list Ground's Pier, Oasis, and Gulf series. Also AGFs, automatic guided forklifts.
And what do these robots do in the warehouse?
Things like transporting goods, helping workers with picking tasks, handling inventory replenishment, moving stuff between different processes, standard warehouse bot tasks. But the key is Ground's approach.
Which is?
They emphasize it's not just selling you a robot, it's comprehensive support, starting before you even buy with requirements definition, simulating performance.
So you know what you're getting into?
Right. And then after deployment, ongoing monitoring, analysis, tuning, making sure the robots are delivering. They even work with the robot makers on improving the products based on that real-world data.
And I guess this is where GWS comes back in strongly, the synergy.
Huge synergy. The software manages and optimizes both humans and robots together.
How does that work in practice?
Well, workload forecasting plans, schedules for people and robots. Progress Analyzer tracks robot movements. Workload Analyzer looks at robot performance. Resource Allocator, the RA module, can decide whether a task is best for a human or a robot right now.
Okay, so it's truly integrated.
And Slotting Optimizer considers robot travel paths when deciding where to put inventory. It's about creating one cohesive, intelligent system, not just islands of automation.
Got it. And to help companies actually do all this, they offer consulting.
Yeah, because making this shift to data-driven, automated logistics, it's a big change.
Yeah.
Digital transformation, or DX, right?
Right, DX.
So their consulting helps with strategy, designing operations, implementing systems, GWES, WMS, TMS, and just generally driving that improvement using data, AI, and automation.
And they have their own method for this, GPM.
GPON, Ground Process Improvement Methodology. Sounds like a structured 5-phase approach. Systematization, visualization, automation, optimization, aiming for automation.
Automation, like autonomous optimization.
That seemed to be the idea, a state where operations are largely self-optimizing based on data. They even have an assessment service to help companies figure out where they are now and build a roadmap.
It's quite compelling seeing who's actually using this stuff. The customer list is pretty impressive.
It really is. You see major names like Mitsubishi Warehouse rolling out modules across, 42 sites? Trusco and Nakayama using several modules, including being an early adopter of the new RA at 5 sites.
We mentioned NTT Logisco with DO module success at 3 sites, KAO planning a big rollout, 44 sites.
And then Nippon Express Holdings aiming for a massive scale, nationwide, potentially sites, using a suite of GWES modules. CX Cargo planning comprehensive use across 14 sites.
Even international reach, like Thailand, and starting domestically with a wide range of modules, including RA, and planning to go overseas.
That kind of adoption by serious logistics players across so many sites,
Yeah.
it speaks volumes about the perceived value, doesn't it? They clearly believe this approach can solve real, large-scale problems.
Absolutely. And the market itself is growing fast, reinforcing the need.
Yeah, that forecast mentioned in the source. The global WES market growing from around $1.6 billion this year to $4 billion by 2030. That's over 16% growth per year. And Japan's about 10% of that. So it shows companies everywhere are realizing they need these kinds of intelligent software systems to cope.
The comparison table in the source was interesting too, pitting GWES against competitors. It seemed to highlight Ground's strengths in areas like forecasting, resource allocation, inventory analysis, and those specific optimization modules, slotting, routing, delivery.
Yeah, it suggests they've carved out a strong position, really focusing on that data-driven optimization and planning layer, which seems to be where the industry is heading.
So let's bring this back to you, our listener. Why does all this Ground stuff, this GWES system, actually matter to you?
Well, fundamentally, it means the systems getting products to your doorstep are getting smarter, faster, more efficient.
Right. Companies like Ground, led by people like Hirotomo Miyata with that deep operational understanding, are using software, AI, integrated robotics to make warehouses work better. More accurate, hopefully more resilient too.
The aha moment, maybe, is realizing that behind your online order isn't just people moving boxes. It's an increasingly sophisticated system, predicting demand, optimizing storage, coordinating people and robots in real time, planning delivery routes. all driven by data and platforms like GWES.
It's a big shift towards this intelligent, software-managed future for logistics, injecting smarts into the physical world of moving stuff.
Exactly, a level of adaptability that just wasn't possible before.
So, wrapping up, we've looked at Hiratomo Miyata's journey and how it shaped Ground's vision. We've unpacked their focus on software-driven logistics, DX, through GWS, its modular approach, how robots fit in, the consulting side.
And we've seen the real-world validation through those major customer implementations and the growing market context. It really paints a picture of AI, robotics, optimization becoming, well, fundamental tools in logistics now.
Definitely not just theory anymore. Which leads to a final thought for you to chew on.
As AI and robotics get deeper into warehouses, automating more complex decisions and tasks, what new challenges pop up? How do we manage these increasingly autonomous systems?
And maybe more importantly, how does that balance between human workers and intelligent automation evolve? What does it really take to achieve that permanently sustainable logistics future for everyone involved?
Yeah, it raises big questions about future workforce skills, designing systems for human-robot collaboration, ensuring technology leads to better, more equitable supply chains overall.
So next time that package arrives, maybe take a second. Think about the invisible, complex journey it took and the increasingly sophisticated technology from companies like Ground working behind the scenes to make it happen.